Welcome in, folks, for a special Thursday edition of What's Bruin. Bruins had back-to-back games on Tuesday, Wednesday, so we bumped the show to tonight. And Gayle, I know you had some family stuff going on, so we bumped it back to 7 o'clock. Hopefully, family dinner went well for you. How are you? I know you got a little bit of the allergies kicking your butt, but overall, you okay?
God, I sound like ass, but I feel great.
That's good.
Yeah, I just I don't know, these allergies already are kicking my ass.
It's that time of year for the spring allergy season. So, but like we do every year, we'll find a way to get through it. And, you know, we may go a little shorter today just to let you get some extra rest, but we've got a lot to go over. We have
that would be nice.
We have so much to go over. We had a freak out over the weekend from several fans. We had a top prospect signing. We had a top prospect making his debut. And we lost to the Leafs, but yet beat the Sabres. So where do you want to start?
Let's go back and start with what caused the freak out.
So on Friday, the 20th, Boston College season came to an end.
Correct.
And that meant another team has a bunch of Bruins prospects on it who are now signable free agents, including last year's number 7 draft pick overall, James Hagens.
Yep.
And apparently the expectation was for him to sign the contract on his locker room floor after the game was over, because anything shy of that caused people to freak out. And I swear to God, by Monday, people were just telling him, screw it, go back to Boston College. It's not worth it if they're going to nickel and dime you like this.
Right.
Holy crap, can people touch some grass?
Well, I mean, no offense, but the whole thing is that they're not burning a year of his entry-level contract by giving him a tryout. By giving him a tryout instead of just immediately signing him.
Before we even get into that, burn a year, don't burn a year, ATO, before we get into any of that, the dude's season ended on Friday night.
Right.
They had an entire weekend plan for games to continue had they won. Right. They had some family stuff, I'm sure, to take care of if they lost. Right. They lost. You should know by now, Don Sweeney's not going to be knocking on the BC locker room door going, Hagens, please, can you just sign right here on the dotted line for your ATO now?
Right.
Like, they're going to sit there and go, look, take some time, enjoy the fact that your season is over, or don't enjoy it, whatever, and we'll talk to you on Monday. There's no need to rush this. Take some time, spend some time with your teammates, your family, whatever. Decompress. Your season just ended.
Right.
And when you're ready to talk about the business side of things, have your agent reach out to us.
Right.
What did you expect was going to happen when the Bruins were on the road in Detroit? And they're like, come on, people. But by Monday, it wasn't done. Oh my God, he should go back to BC.
Well,
what are we talking about? And then sure enough, guess what? It got done in a day. Elliot Friedman comes out and says, yeah, by Monday, we should have an answer by the end of the day. Sure enough, 11 o'clock at night, Hagens has signed his ATO.
Right. But I think other people are still mad, too, that he only signed an ATO and not an ELC. I think everyone was expecting the ELC and not an ATO. But
with the ELC is he would not be eligible to be sent to Providence on an ELC because he wasn't on the Providence Bruins roster before or by 3 p.m. on the NHL trade deadline, which was March 6th. So therefore, he would not be eligible to play in the Calder Cup playoffs. He wouldn't be eligible to be sent down. So he would be stuck on the Boston Bruins, not playing if he proved not to be good enough. Right. Now, we got Kevin jumping in. I know I reached out to Kenny earlier. So
hi, Kevin.
Kevin. By doing the ATO, as everybody's mentioned, even Hagens' agent went on the Puckpedia podcast and said, this leaves all avenues open. Now,
Right.
only one door has since closed, and that is he can no longer return to Boston College.
Correct.
He played in yesterday's Providence game against Springfield. He has represented a professional organization, and he's lost all of his remaining NCAA eligibility.
I think there is one way he could go back, but there's like certain specific rules, and I don't know the exact rules, but for all intents and purposes, he cannot go back to Boston College. He is now probably a professional hockey player.
Yeah, there's probably some NCAA board review process that he can go through and maybe get approved.
I think it's like he could go back after like a year or something like that. If he
sits out a year.
Yeah, he can't go back like this fall, and he can't play for Providence for a full year and then go back. Like he would have to not be signed after his ATO, and then I think he has to sit out almost a full season before he could go back. But he's not going back.
Yeah, there's a very, very narrow road that could potentially lead him one day back to the NCAA, but that's not what he's doing. That's not the fact that they let him play against Springfield means the team didn't want him to go back. And the fact that he agreed, knowing it would, for all intents and purposes, burn all of his NCAA eligibility because he still has 2 years left, or had 2 years left. He agreed to play in the game, which means he doesn't want to go back either.
Right.
There was no, I hope people go and listen or watch that Puckpedia podcast with his agent, because there's no animosity there. Oh God. I was at the buffet line waiting for more lobster because Kevin ate it all. Did anyone get smacked yet?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
But we are talking about Hagens.
I want to go to this buffet, guys. If there's lobster tail hanging around, I want to go to that buffet. So come on. Yeah, and Kevin, he basically has to prove that he's not making any money more than the quote-unquote necessary living expenses that he can be compensated for in order to go back and that kind of thing. So let's see. David has a great question regarding Hagens. What would expectations for next year, i.e. games played, goals, assists, points, rookie of the year contention, or wait and see, let him play? Let's circle back to this one for a minute.
Yeah, I think we need to circle back to that.
It won't take very long, I promise, David. Your question will get answered. But I do like Kevin's point here where he says, I'm not surprised by the ATO one bit. McAvoy got one. And then he adds in, I believe, Lori got one too. Pretty much every player who signs their ELC also has an ATO attached to it for the first year because they all tend to go to the AHL. There are some exceptions.
Even Pasternak started in Providence.
Right. And like I said, people should go back and watch the Puckpedia. I can put a link to it in our description, in our podcast and all that stuff, because it was a great interview by the folks over at the Puckpedia podcast. And it was specifically with James Hagens' agent. There's no animosity. People who are sitting here saying the kid should have gone back to BC because screw this, they're forcing him to sign the ATO. Both sides looked at it and said, this gives all options on the table. That's what both sides wanted.
Well, and no offense, but I get where people, because I saw even Adam, who I love reading his tweets are usually very insightful, whatever. But Adam's like, you can't tell me that Hagens can't help this power play. Regardless of whether or not he can help the power play or not, give the kid the opportunity to learn the system. Because look what Reichel did. He went down, he learned the system, and he's been productive in Boston since.
He's certainly been better than Easimon and Steves on that third line left wing.
Right. And that's the whole thing. Like, there's nothing wrong with going to Providence and learning the system before being fed to the NHL, especially a kid coming right out of college.
Yeah. And of course, Kevin says now, with all that being said, if Hagens is proving he's above the AHL level and should be at the NHL today, and he's not up here after 4 or 5 games, I'll be annoyed. So I will also give props. Flow Hockey made his debut game last night free of charge.
Yeah.
So everybody and their mother could watch that game. And good on them for doing that, because it really just shows off what Flow Hockey can bring you for watching American Hockey League games. Now, people who actually paid attention to that will have noticed that James Hagens' game started out slow, but got better. He clearly gained confidence during the course of his game. And that's fine.
He played with Brown and who else?
Matej Blumel.
Okay.
Now, do I think that some plays that he made would be better off if he had, say, Geeky or Pastrnak on his wing? Of course. They're both way better than Patrick Brown and Matej Blumel. But that's not the point. He was gaining confidence throughout the entire game. There were a couple times he took some faceoffs, did well on his faceoffs that he took, but he was learning. You could actively see it. And the fact that he was stapled next to Patrick Brown, and oh, by the way, he was on the top power play unit for Providence too. So clearly they're saying, just go out, play your game, get used to the speed, the physicality, and everything that the pro game has to offer. I don't think it'll take him more than 4 or 5 games, Kevin, to adjust to it.
But you know what? Sweetie made the comment that pisses off fans. He said, everyone makes mistakes. The key is, are you outplaying your mistakes?
Yeah, and speaking of mistakes, Mason Lohrei made a pretty big one last night.
Yes. but what I'm saying is, though, because Sweetie made that comment, people think that Sweetie is setting him up to fail when they're actually setting him up to succeed.
Exactly. And as Kevin says, Hagens was fine last night in Providence, a little shaky, but overall fine. Nothing screaming, call me up right now.
No.
Which is the best way to put it. Now, in 2, 3, 4 games, they got 2 more games this weekend. Boston will be with Minnesota and in Columbus. Like, it's possible that he's joining the team against Detroit if he has 2 good games over the weekend. It's possible that he's joining the team on Thursday. Like, they're not ruling any of this stuff out. Like, right. His ELC is already written. You already know what it's going to be. That takes 5 seconds, and he just has to sign it and report. It's just a matter of, let's get a few games under his belt, make sure he knows what to expect, because he's not jumping into what this team was doing last year, where it was, well, if you fail, who cares? We'll get the draft pick.
Right.
This is, if you fail, like last night, the way he played in Providence, if that was him in the NHL, he's costing you last night's game. And I don't mean to say that in a way that's destroying the kid. It's just, he wasn't ready for it. And those few instances where he made some mistakes because he's making adjustments, they weren't really mistakes. They're just, I'm not used to this mistakes. They would have ended up in the back of your net. In the National Hockey League, against a team, especially as good as what Buffalo is right now, they end up in the back of your net. We just talked about Mason Lohrei making a major mistake. You start losing this game because of Mason Lohrei.
Can we also, he showed up for practice on Tuesday and played Wednesday. So it's not like he's had a week to learn the system. He's had a day to learn the system. And
he still played well.
and to get chemistry with his teammates. You know what I mean?
He still played well, too. That's the key.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Now, Kevin, you said if it were me, I would have had him sign his ELC Monday and he would have started in Boston. The problem with that is you cannot send him down to Providence if he plays the way he played last night. So the ATO allows him to get some of these things out of his system, and then you can bring him up. If it's a 3-game run, a 5-game run, a 9-game run, doesn't matter. Yes, you can still put him on that third line. I think that's where he will end up starting. The problem is he had some of those bugs to get out of his game. He has some adjustments to make. The ATO allows him to do that. The ELC does not. Because if he's not playing in Boston, he's on the 9th floor, not skating. And oh, by the way, this team doesn't have any time for fucking practice. So it's not exactly like he's getting out. He's doing a 20-minute morning skate with the other scratches of the day. That's not going to benefit him at all.
Right.
He's got practice today. He's got practice tomorrow. He's got a game, or is it a game Friday? I don't even remember whether they play. I think it's Saturday and Sunday that Providence plays. He's got 2 more games over the weekend. Monday, you can completely reassess.
For anyone that's joining late, I apologize. I am very congested with allergies. So I just wanted to throw that out.
Dom, he wasn't on the Providence roster at the trade deadline. So he is not out. He's not eligible to go down. My understanding is they can't even send him down if he's on the ELC because he wasn't on that roster. However, I do know for a fact that he definitely can't play in the Calder Cup playoffs on that ELC. So the ATO leaves the option open for him to stay in Providence and play in the Calder Cup playoffs. Kevin says that he wouldn't send him down. He would just leave him in the lineup and let him make the mistakes in the 12 plus games or so. Kevin, those mistakes though are going to cost you games. That's the problem. Yeah, Dom, I know that fact that it's for the playoffs, but I know I read a few places that he wouldn't be able to be sent down. I'm not 100% sure where I read that, but I have seen it in several places that he wouldn't be eligible to be sent down.
He has to sign before the AHL trade deadline, I thought.
That maybe that's what it is. But I need to look into it a little bit more. Unless Dom, you can throw it in the comments. Maybe that part is wrong, and it's just he wouldn't be eligible for the Calder Cup playoffs. Either way, if you're going to start him in Providence, the ATO is still the right way to go because you can still have him sign the ELC.
It says players have to sign and be on an AHL roster by the AHL trade deadline to be eligible for the AHL playoffs.
It should be the NHL trade deadline because they waived the new rule, that the paper transaction rule, where a player has to play an AHL game to qualify to get recalled or wait. I think it's like 7 or 10 days or whatever it is. They waived that for the 24-hour trade deadline for the NHL trade deadline. But we'll keep looking at it. Dom, I know you know the rule anyway. And so he's just gonna bust me over it because I'm trying to remember what the clause was. But let's see. Kevin says Sweeney can't be worried about burning a year on the contract, in my opinion, either, if that's his motive. I don't think that's his motive, Kevin. I really don't think. Oh, yeah, Dom. I know you were correcting people on his ELC contract sliding and all that. There's no slide for an NCAA ELC. If I'm not mistaken, Dom, the only contract that would slide is whether or not they go back to Canadian juniors. If I'm not mistaken, that's the only time the quote unquote slide occurs. But as far as I think I have it here. I remember seeing it in several places. I don't remember what the specific clause is, and age related, yeah, for the slide. But Hagens' ELC is going to be 3 years, regardless of if he signs it today or if he signs it effective next season, because he's 19. It will be a 3-year ELC. If he signs it this year, it has 3 years, and year 1 is right now. Because you are in year 1. There is no slide, as Dom is pointing out. Yes, there's the ATO can carry him through the end of the season. He can then sign the ELC. It'll still be 3 years. It would just start next season. That's the only difference. You gain a full season on it if he stays on the AATO the rest of this year. As far as the negotiations or anything like that, if he's ready this year, even if it's for 2 games, I don't think they give a flying fuck about that year, the first year. If he's ready, he'll play. Plain and simple. Here's my question to people. What's the benefit for Don Sweeney holding on to that extra year, knowing that if Hagens can help this team make the playoffs, he looks better by getting Hagens on this team now and helping push this team into the playoffs? Because he just did a complete retool in 1 year.
Right.
As someone who's on a limited contract, who last year people were talking about his job security, why wouldn't he do that? Why would he say, no, we're going to hold you off and not play a player who can help us win now that would make me look better? What's the motivation?
Because people still think that there's players buried in Providence that should be on the NHL roster over some of the 3rd and 4th liners.
And those are the people who don't watch Providence.
But it's not even just watching Providence. It's they automatically so Marco Sturm has done a great job, right?
Oh, he's been phenomenal.
He has, and even putting Husadinov and Mitten with Pasternak. Who would have thought that at the beginning of the season that Fraser, Mitten, and Husadinov were going to be playing with Pasternak on a consistent basis?
Yeah, no, that's been a great... and it's funny. The only reason why we call it our first line is because Pasternak's on it.
Right.
And because they put it at the top of the lineup card. If they put Reichel, Lindholm, Geeky as the top line on that lineup card, people would be like, oh my God, Pasternak's on the 3rd line. It's the archaic mentality of 1st, 2nd, 3rd line. Right. No. It's Zaka's line. It's Minton's line. Right. It's Lindholm's line. It's Corrali's line. That's how they think of it. That's how this team has always done it. Right. Or you can go off the pair. It's Pasternak and Pasternak and Husadinov really are the pair, not Minton and Pasternak. Honestly, at least in my opinion.
Right. But because people are like, well, Tanner Jeannot's still on this team. Why isn't Matthew Potter on this team in place of Tanner Jeannot?
Well, because they do 2 totally different things. You're literally comparing an apple to an orange going, why don't they taste the same?
I get it. I know you do. I'm not saying that that's the way it should be, but I'm saying that that's what people are saying. People are saying that. People are saying, you have Mikey Eastmont on a roster spot he hasn't played since Reichel came up.
Right.
But that's what I'm saying. People aren't looking at top to bottom what each player brings to the table. They're looking at just, well, this person is not there. Not where they would where they could possibly slot in, how it would help them. That's not what they're looking at. They're just looking at as a whole. Peyton people. I mean, there are still fans out there that like, Arvidsson scored. He had got his 21st goal, 20th goal, whatever. So it's
Something
another
like that.
20 goal scorer, but they're like, he shouldn't be on this team. What?
Yeah, well, as Kevin points out, it's because they paid Jeannot a stupid amount of money. Which, honestly, Tanner Jeannot's been worth every bit of his contract this year. He really has.
Yep.
And I remember when people panicked over the signing. Let me see. Dom, I heard that if you smoke an apple and orange, they do taste the same. And Dom, I did find there's the AHL eligibility cutoff. There's a part to it on Puckpedia, basically where it is because NCAA players weren't under NHL contract when the AHL trade deadline. It was the AHL trade deadline. They're not under contract by that point. They can't go to the AHL. That's the rule that I was looking at.
I think I said that.
That we collectively put it together. I just wanted to confirm that was
I
the
kept
deadline.
saying AHL deadline, and you said no, NHL deadline.
No, the NHL trade deadline is for the Calder Cup playoff cutoff.
First lap.
No. The NHL trade deadline is for the Calder Cup playoffs. I said I didn't know if it applied to the NCAA free agents as well, or if that was the AHL trade deadline. So renege that slap. I just was confirming what we had said it might be. That's all.
Can we go back to David's new question?
Well, I was going to say, do we real quick before we completely
I don't want to do the Hagens question. I want to do this.
Okay, we'll come back to it. He says, would Patra play on the wing to make this Bruins roster? I do like Kevin's answer. Patra told me personally that he would play wherever the Bruins want him to play in order to make the team and help. So if it were up to Patra, he would. But would you play him on the wing is the question.
I would. Because then that gives you the opportunity to slot him in the middle if you had to.
I think Patra's a center. Like it's just his skill set is so much better down the middle. And like, let me ask you, and I'm not saying the players are the same, but would you have ever moved David Krejci to the wing?
Well, that's
so why? But what I'm saying is his strength was in setting up plays and using his hockey IQ to make his wingers better. True, that was his strength.
I understand that, but
that's Patra's strength too.
But you went from like A to Z. Can you pick a player that's closer to his talent for me to judge that?
But he does similar aspects of the game.
That's like asking if you would put Mark Savard on a wing versus, I don't know, like someone that's not the same caliber as Mark Savard. I mean, come on.
But the point I'm trying to make is you have a playmaker who can find his open teammates, who plays better down the middle, and you want to weaken that by putting him on the wing. I don't necessarily agree with that. There are players like James Hagens who can do it better. And do I think Patra could? Do I think Patra could handle it? Sure. But his game on the wing is never going to be as strong as his game down the middle.
But not if you put him, like, say he had the opportunity to play with Lindholm and Geeky.
I honestly would rather move Lindholm to the right wing and put Geeky on the left.
Here, Kevin. Here.
Well, Dom, we were able to answer the question. He said he didn't know the AHL CBA. So I thought he was giving me a hard time because that's what he usually does. So, but we were able to confirm it, Dom.
Thank you, Dom. Read that question right now.
So now that Pasta's a playmaker, should he be moved to the middle? Because he's also a natural goal scorer from the wing. No, you don't have to move him to the middle. His game is better suited for the wing. Patra's is better suited down the middle. Again, could Pastrnak play in the middle? Yeah, probably. He's good enough. He's a talented enough player that if you put him at
He's
center
not
long
taking
enough,
face-offs, though.
so what? You can have someone else take the face off. My point being is
Well,
if
that's the
you
whole thing.
hold on.
But so what's the difference then if he's on a line with Lindholm as the center and he's on a wing and he ends up in the middle?
Who, Pasternak?
No, Patra. He could still drive the play from the middle. He's just not your center on the lineup card. So yes, he would still play the wing. He's just not because I would rather have Lindholm take the face-offs than Patra.
Yeah, Kevin, I agree. I don't see Pasta winning enough face-offs to warrant that. It's
But you're saying the same thing. There's no reason that Patra can't drive the play from wherever on the ice if he's playing wing to start the play. That's just like saying McAvoy doesn't drive up the ice as a defenseman. It's not black or white when it comes to positions anymore, unless you're talking about face-offs.
No, you're right, and it really
face-offs.
So
it's not black and white.
So I guess the best way to put it is on this team. On this team, the way this team is constituted, I don't want him on the wing.
I would have no problems with him being on the wing with like a Lindholm and a Geeky, or if they decide to break up the line of Middlestat, Zaka, and Arvidsson, because he could still help drive the play, regardless if he's the wing. He doesn't need to be the actual centerman to drive the play.
Pasta should just cherry pick all game. Yeah, Dom, I'm not saying he's never played the wing, because I remember what you're talking about. Even when Patra says it himself, he's been a winger before. Let me ask you this, Dom: where does Patra play his game at his best? When he's a winger or when he's a center? That's my question to you, Dom. Where is he stronger? Down the middle or on the wing? Ethan Russell says if Pasta moves to the center, then Zadorov won't take another penalty all year. I'm not sure how those are correlated, Ethan, but it's I appreciate the humor. But also to the point that we were talking about before, where are you putting Patra on this? Whose wing are you putting him on right now? Are you eliminating Victor Arvidsson and putting him there?
I just told you where I would put him.
What, you said next to Lindholm?
Lindholm and Geeky.
I mean, would I see it? Would I be okay with it? Based on where they are in the playoff push, I think what they're doing is fine. Oh, because I don't see it as possible. Let's see. Dom says it doesn't matter in the O zone the way the Bruins play. Now in the D zone, I think he's better on the wing.
Thank you, Dom.
Third line right wing, move Geeky to the left. Kevin says done. Yeah, I mean, again, if it's something that they were to do, I'm not going to sit here and say, how dare they? I'm not going to have the conniption that people had over the fact that James Hagens didn't sign in 36 hours. You know that. I don't see it being something they're looking to do, because I think they view Patra as a center. And I understand that viewpoint, because I think that's where he is better. And they've made it known that they don't want to jump him around from wing to center, wing to center, wing to center. Do I think he could help this team on the wing? Yeah, probably. But who's he bumping out of the lineup? I know you're talking about putting him on the third line. Right now, Reichel, Lindholm, Geeky has been fine. I don't see enough wrong with that line. I do wonder what's going to happen with the lineup if Hagens does push his way up and force his way up to the NHL. That's a good question, David. If Sturm thought it would work with Patra on the wing, would it have happened by now?
Yes.
That's my thought too.
Sweeney made it clear that Sturm has a lot of say in that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Dom, all this talk of wings. Let's go get some chicken wings. Kevin says, but make it easier on yourself and just put Hagens on the line with Geeky and Lindholm. They can make up for his learning curve while he generates a ton more offense for both of those players. So here's the other point, Kevin. Geeky hasn't exactly been playing great lately. Like, he hasn't been scoring. His scoring is down. You got to find a way to get him going. Now, maybe Hagens is that way of getting him going, but at the same time, he's been playing a little better ever since they went from Steve Ziesimont interchanging to Reichel. So if he's starting to get his game back by playing with Reichel and Lindholm, and you're still in your playoff, like you're still winning games and staying in your playoff race. So how much are you willing to upset the entire roster out or the lineup apple cart just because they're getting better working together? So Bruins 1970 says Reichel is expendable. Yeah, I mean, technically they all are, but at 23 years old, I'm not just going to throw him out just because you got him for a 6th-round pick and started him in Providence. This is a guy who can help the team long-term. He's a former 1st-round pick. You're trying to get younger guys in this lineup. This is exactly the swing you take. Expendable, sure, but so is Lindholm, both of them. So is, like, they're all expendable to some degree.
Well, and that's why players like Tanner Jeannot and Victor Arvidsson are so important right now during this retool, because they're giving the younger players the opportunity to play with the veterans that have been there, that have done things, and it's going a lot more smoothly than I think people thought it was going to.
Yeah. And we heard all about, I think people seem to have forgotten what came out during the trade deadline about how close this locker room really is. Now, that doesn't mean by adding someone in, whether it's a Hagens or a Reichel or whomever, they're not going to add that person to the group. But at the same time, how much are you going to take that group and just keep adding to it and hope that it stays together?
Right.
Because you bring someone up, whether it's Hagens, whether it's Reichel, whether it's, Patra, you are upsetting the group, because that also means people who are happy in their role are now looking over their shoulder going, am I going to be the one who loses their job? So I definitely think Steves and Easimont are still well-loved in that group, but they knew that because they kept getting cycled in and out, they knew they weren't bringing enough to the table. So when Reichel came up and he took that spot in the lineup, neither one of them went, how could this possibly have happened to me? Right. They knew they weren't bringing enough and that Reichel was going to get that look if he got called up.
Right.
So Kevin says, I don't want to hear about the apple card. They can nut up. So and that's one of those things too, where you bring Hagens into this group, you're kind of putting yourself in a position where he has to be in the starting lineup or he's not playing at all. So right. You burn the year for him not to play at all because you can't send him down, as we already confirmed, or you burn the year, force him into the lineup, and regardless of how he's playing, you now have veteran guys who are sitting there going, this kid's just not up to speed. Why is he playing? I can't rely on him. He's struggling. What are we doing? And now the locker room that was so good has now lost all confidence in management because they're forcing something upon them. Right. I don't think it would happen. But why take the chance when you have another option with him? Because now he can go down to Providence, and those players in that locker room, when he gets to sign that ELC and he comes up and he is there for the last 7 games, they look at someone and go, he earned this call up. He played well in Providence. He's clearly able to help us. He's going to help push us into the playoffs. he could be our missing piece. It's a confidence boost for everybody. That's a good question, David asks. With Steve signing an extension, more than Kastelik, by the way, what future does Steve's have with the Bruins? Do you think they signed the Steve's extension too soon?
No.
I mean, its AAV is 1.6, and it's barely more than Mark Kastelik, so I'm not fretting too much over it, you know.
Did you know when Corrali signed 2 years or 1 year?
Corrali has 1.85 for next season. Jeannot's got the 5-year deal.
Oh, that's right.
He's got the 3.4 for 4 more years after this. And, oh, by the way, the no trade clause. Also, you want to get a good extended look at Reichel as long as he continues to perform the way he has been, because he's a pending restricted free agent. You have that right to sign him before anybody else.
Right.
So, you know, for all the people who want to talk about who's expendable, who's not, so on and so forth, I do think the way these contracts are lined up, this team is open for a lot of strategic moves over the summer, because Middlestat is now a tradable player. Arvidsson is someone that you can let walk or you can bring back, right, depending on what some of the other options are that you do. Sean Corrali, he's been key in our penalty kill, especially since coming back from the Olympics. He's been critical.
Yeah.
So do you really want to just move on from someone who's helped you had such a successful penalty kill? You could trade them. There's trade value for sure. But depending on what else you're looking to bring in, I mean, this team overall is going to continue to look to get younger. Sean Corrali, can he be replaced by a Riley Duran? That's the kind of question that you're going to be looking at in the offseason. Kevin says, so let's never bring him up then if that's what is worried about here, because that's the mentality that has Poitras and others stuck in Providence purgatory. No, Kevin, I don't think it does. I don't think that's the mindset that has people stuck in Providence purgatory, as you're calling it. Matthew Poitras has had things to work on with his game, and he's been working on them. And when he got a call-up before the Olympic break, he played well. But who's he bumping out of the lineup right now? Who would you bump out of the lineup right now for Matthew Poitras to play him where his strengths are?
If you're not putting him on the wing, he's not coming up.
Exactly. David says, my issue with Poitras has been, can he stay healthy in the NHL? Otherwise, I like his game. I mean, yeah, one of the things he's learned down in Providence is how to take a hit. He's learned how to take care of himself on the ice, physically, down in Providence. And he's gotten a lot better. Let's see. Poitras plays more than competent enough to be on that NHL roster, and we all know that here. And Kevin, he's potentially someone, I mean, think about this.
Okay, wait. Kevin.
Bump Judd for Poitras.
Listen, I jump for joy when the games are national. Okay? But seriously, Kevin, who are you taking out of the lineup to put Poitras in the lineup?
Also, Kevin, he says that he has stuff to work on is just the line they like to say. No, Kevin, watch him. All right? If you watched him when he was up a couple years ago and made the team out of camp, you watch him the following season, you watch him down in Providence, there are vast improvements to his game. All right, Kevin? There are extreme improvements to how he plays a two-way game, to how he gets and takes a hit and plays physically. He has physical bite to his game now that he didn't have before. All right? Does he belong in the NHL right now? That's a debate for sure. But to your question, who's he bumping out of the lineup? Well, right now, you have 3 healthy centers.
I don't want you to answer. I want Kevin to answer.
No, I
Who
know.
are you taking out of the lineup, Kevin, to put Patra in the lineup?
Well, he's going to say throw him on the third line wing.
No. Where if the Bruins want him to be a center, who are you taking him? Who are you taking out of the lineup to put him in a center role? Who are you taking out? Are you taking out
Reichel? That's a winger, Kevin,
That's a winger.
or however you spell his name. And then he says that I've watched him plenty, but he could have made those vast improvements on the NHL roster. No, Kevin, because with what he was weak at, he was not getting in games at the NHL level when he was healthy. Putting him in Providence allowed him to play top line minutes, all right, which is a very different role than putting him on the third line in the National Hockey League. All right. He absolutely needed to be in Providence to do that. Absolutely. Every single scout that I've talked to said that this was the right move for him. And yes, even Dom, over our course of talking about him, said that that was at the time where he should be. Kevin, it's not a matter of whether or not he can play wing or not. He still had all of those aspects of his game to work on, and Providence was the place to do it. We can have the conversation about whether or not he's ready for the NHL today, but he wasn't. And as David points out, he had a chance to win the role in camp. He lost it to Fraser Minton.
Sturm has not pulled him for making mistakes.
No, he hasn't pulled anybody for making mistakes.
No, that was his predecessor. Actually, it was Montgomery. It wasn't Sacco.
I was going to say, Sacco didn't give a flying rat's ass if you made mistakes. He was like, whatever.
Right.
So, but do I think having Montgomery as the coach may have hurt Patra's chances of staying on the NHL roster? It's possible. It's possible.
No,
sure.
I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that he got injured that first year.
Mm-hmm.
That he got injured that first year, coming back from the injury, he didn't win a spot coming out of camp.
No. And he didn't win one this year.
And the fact that, and the only reason why he made that first year is because they got to the point where he couldn't go to Providence. He had to go back to juniors or stay in the NHL.
Yeah. Which that rule is now finally looking like it's going to change. But it wouldn't have applied for Patra. That's the other thing is Patra was a second-round pick. It's only going to be applicable for first-round picks. So they would have still been in the same issue with him because he was a second-round draft pick. Honest to God, if they could do that again, he's going back to the juniors. I guarantee you, if they could do that over, he would not have stayed with the Boston Bruins. He would have gone back to juniors. Also, if you look at that team had nobody at center. That's part of what that worked out in his favor a lot.
Right. And because in fact, when he came back from injury, where did Sweeney send him? I can't remember.
When he came back from injury, he went are you talking about the shoulder injury his first season, his rookie?
Yeah.
He never came back from injury that year.
No.
He ended up having surgery.
Where did they loan him to? Was it World Juniors?
Oh, yeah. He went down to World. He was able to go to World Juniors that December before he got hurt.
Right. And they didn't do that because they thought it would help his development. That's why they did it.
One day we will learn why Patra didn't make the Bruins lineup. My guess, can he play 82 games? Well, it's going to be 84 games.
He can play 84 because they're going up 2 more next year.
Yep, we both had that same exact thought.
Let's not forget that the schedule changes: 2 less preseason games, 2 more regular season games next season. 84 games.
Yeah. Kevin says, at the end of the day, do we all agree that Matthew Poitras today is good enough to be on this roster and could help this team offensively? Kevin, my answer to that is it all depends on where you're putting him and who you're taking out. Because right now, based on your second line, Zacha, Middlestat, and Arvidsson, he's not helping improve that line at all. There's nowhere you can put that. Is one of the top 2 lines in the entire fucking league. He is not helping that line at all. So there goes that option. So that means you're either bumping Lindholm or Minton. He lost the third line role to Minton at the beginning of the season. And he sure as hell is not as strong as a two-way player or at the faceoff dot as Elias Lindholm. Does he have a little bit more offensive upside? Sure. But overall, his game is not better than that of Elias Lindholm when he's healthy.
Unless they're going to put him on the wing.
And even then, I don't know that he's better on the left wing than Lukas Reichel. We can't say that for sure. We've already established that you're not taking off Casey Middlestat. You're not taking off Victor Arvidsson. You're certainly not moving Pasta for him. Are you going to remove Murat Hustadinov with him?
Can you imagine Pasta gets benched because of Matthew Poitras?
I know, but are you going to pull Murat Hustadinov for him right now?
No.
Are you going to pull Morgan Geekie for him?
The only person that you're going to pull is Lukas Reichel. That's it.
Right, Kevin. Yes, he can play left wing. Fine. Geekie can play left wing. Fine. But you're not moving Geekie to the left side for that move. And again, the question is, can he bring more to the third line than Lukas Reichel is? And right now, the answer is we don't know. We really don't know. He's better than Reichel, and Geekie can play left wing. You put Poitras on the right wing. Kevin, we don't know that he's better than Lukas Reichel. Because Lukas Reichel is playing left wing right now, potentially better than Matthew Poitras playing center. Certainly better than moving Elias Lindholm to the wing. So Elias Lindholm's going to be that center. Can Morgan Geekie move left to right? Yes, absolutely. So that means...
the other thing is, too, is you're not taking Elias Lindholm out of the lineup when he's one of your top penalty killers as well.
Yeah, that's Poitra's not killing penalties for you. Not that Lukas Reichel is or anything, but your question is Matthew Poitras a better right wing than Lukas Reichel is a better left wing? And right now, the answer to that is probably not. I'm not even talking about his gift goal, Kevin. I haven't mentioned his goal once for Lukas Reichel. What I'm saying is he's brought something to that line that you didn't have before. He's helping that line improve. All right? And Lukas Reichel on the left wing right now is better than Matthew Poitras on the right wing. Potentially. That's the question. So, and then, of course, now you got to throw the James Hagens into it all as well. Did we ever answer David's question about the Steve's extension?
That wasn't even the question.
About his future with the team?
He asked about, we kind of talked about that. Because we talked about Corrali and the UFAs and but we never answered his question about the expectations for Hagens.
I knew that one. I was trying to pull that one up, and then I saw this one, and I was like, did we ever finish fully answering this one? So I'll go back to his question here. What are the expectations, or what would the expectations for Hagens be for next year as far as games played, points, rookie of the year contention, etc.? Where's your mind at?
My mind right now is a wait and see. I want to see a few more games in Providence, see how quickly he takes to the system, see what he does. Like, does this ATO turn into an ECL by the end of the season? You know what I mean? Like, what are we looking at? I think it's way too early to put expectations on him when he's only had one practice and one game.
Yeah, and also when it comes to his expectations for next season, I think the question becomes, what's the rest of the roster look like?
Right.
Because if you trade away in the offseason Casey Middlestad, you don't re-sign Victor Arvidsson, and you're basically sitting there, all right, kid, you're going to play with Morgan Geekie on the second line. He's your goal scorer. And on the left side, we're going to get you, we're going to try, it's going to be
it could be Lucas Reichel. You never know.
right. And on the left side, it'll be Lucas Reichel. Okay,
Or it
your
could
expectations.
it could be Matthew Poitras.
It's going to be very different than if you sit there and go, all right, you're our number one center between Geekie and Pasternak. Have a good season, kid.
Right.
Because he's potentially good enough for that top line role as far as a scoring center. I would put a higher emphasis on his point total at that point, especially because you've got two guys who have proven that they can hit the 40 goal mark.
Right.
So I would say you would want to see him hit at least 80 points. You'd be expecting him to be a point per. If he's centering those two guys, you'd expect him to hit a point per game as a top line center. Let's see. Dom says the reason 99.9% of us will never be an NHL GM is because we are too emotional. You have to leave emotions at the back burner when making hockey decisions.
I'm not emotional at all when it comes to players.
Oh, Kevin says, are you worried about Poitras's size?
I was year one. I'm not anymore.
Yeah, now that I've seen him evolve his game, I'm not worried about it. But year one, it was absolutely a concern.
Right.
Just like you can say in year one, it's going to be a concern for Hagens. Until he proves it's not a problem, it's a concern. Now, is it a concern where you go, he can't make this roster? No. It's just a concern to say, can he do it? It is the same concern as to why Michael DiPietro is still in Providence. Because he is extremely athletic. But there are saves that he just can't make because he commits to a play too soon and he's not tall enough to cover the backside post. Period. End of story. Just wanted to make sure it wasn't about that. Kevin, if it was about that, you know me, I would be like, he's too small. But Hagens is 5'11", 190. I think he will be fine. But again, until it's proven, I think we're seeing other players of that size prove that size isn't the only factor. But until it's proven, it still can be a concern. Dom says, I was never, ever worried about Poitras, not once. I'm not worried about him, Dom. Again, my question is he better on the right wing or left wing than Lucas Reichel is right now on the left wing? And is the ceiling higher?
We are beating a dead horse.
You want to throw some slaps around?
No, I just want to stop.
Like last night against men, Hagens didn't get tossed around. Not really. No, he was fine. I think, again, his confidence grew as he played more ice time. So let's give him the rest of this weekend.
David has a question.
I like Poitras being super critical here. His skating has been an issue. I don't think his skating has ever really been the major concern. Has Poitras skating ever been a concern for you?
No.
I don't think that's not what's really holding them back.
I think, in all honesty, I think part of what's holding him back is this lack of 200-foot play,
which has gotten significantly better over the last two seasons.
It has.
Ian says they're playing hockey, not dunking on a 10-foot rim. Yeah, agreed. But size is still a factor. Why do we like Dean Letourneau so much? Because he's a bigger body down the middle. And his talents allow him to do things with that size that you just don't see people of that size doing.
When did this podcast become strictly about Patra?
Apparently, it's the Matthew Patra podcast.
Can we move on?
Kevin says
I'm getting
Patra
bored.
has had issues with explosiveness off the edges, but he seems better now. Yeah, again, the things that he needed to do in Providence, he's been working on. Fact.
Brick wall head.
Anyway, Bruins are still in a playoff spot.
We didn't even talk about the 2 games. We've spent this whole podcast talking about Patra.
Yeah, well, like I said, they are still in a playoff spot. They are 3 points ahead of the Senators in the wild card race. They are tied in points with Montreal for third place in the Atlantic.
Montreal has 2 games in hand, which is the only reason why Montreal is in the 3 spot instead of Boston.
Yep. But you still can catch them in the race. So third place, and quite frankly, I mean, with the way Tampa's been playing, they're catchable too. You really have to get on your ass and win some games down the stretch, especially with how difficult the schedule is. But you could, in theory, catch Tampa, especially because they're without Victor Hedman now.
Right, but proving that they could beat good teams like Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, so that's the other thing too. And good on Korpisalo getting that win, by the way.
Great win for him. I texted you on Tuesday when they were starting Swayman. I was really wondering, because we've seen multiple teams now this year play their starting goaltender on a back-to-back.
Right.
And so with the 2 days off,
Swayman has done that twice this season. And he's 2-2.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if that's what we would been seeing, because how often has Marco Sturm said the phrase, he gives us the best chance to win, so that's why he's in the net.
Right. I understand that. I was surprised that they gave him the Toronto start over the Buffalo start. Unless they're saying to Korpisalo, we need you down the stretch. So we're going to give you the confidence of play. You know, we want to show that we're confident that you can win a game against Buffalo. You know what I mean? Like that. Yeah, you can win.
I also wonder how much of it, because it's definitely a confidence boost to Korpisalo for sure. Going, we're going to put you against the playoff team.
And the team
in front of them, absolutely. But I also wonder how much of it was, hey, the roster in front of him maybe looking ahead to that Buffalo game. So let me go with Swayman against the team where they might not have their entire game, which almost worked.
Yeah.
Because that strategy almost allowed them to take both games.
Right. Well, the problem with the game against Toronto is that they were looking ahead to Buffalo.
Yeah, they were. And that's why I wonder if that thought process in Sturm's head made him go, let me give Swayman what may be a more difficult night on my goaltender, because they are going to possibly look ahead to him.
Right.
And again, it almost worked. You know, that's a 1-goal game minus the empty netter. So Dom has a question. Do you want the Panthers to finish outside the bottom 10 so the Bruins get their 2027 first, or in the bottom 10 to get the 2028 first?
Wait, what?
So obviously there's a lot of talk about the Toronto pick for this year's draft because it's top 5 protected. Well, the Panthers pick is also top 10 protected.
Right.
So if they finish outside the bottom 10, the Bruins get their pick in 2027. If the Panthers are in the bottom 10, then they get the 2028 first. So would you rather have Florida's pick in 2027 or 2028?
28.
You want it to push back a year?
Yeah.
Let me look at,
because they're gonna need that.
I'm just pulling up a couple things here. Yeah. I'd almost rather have the 2028 draft pick, Dom, because between now and 2028,
I hate you,
they
Kevin.
they love. I'll get to some of Kevin's stuff in a minute. Between now and 2028, they lose Rodriguez, Luosterainen, Boquist, Greer, Schwind, Reinhart, Histroza, Thomas Nosek, Luke Kunin, Noah Gregg. Gadjevich is in the last year of his contract. Samoskevich will have signed a new contract, and they are in the last year of Kulikov and Balinskis deal. And oh, by the way, Bobrovsky will be 39.
Yeah.
If he's still there.
Right.
So, given how much surgery that roster is going to need by 2028, I'd almost rather have that pick.
I want the 28 pick. That's what I said.
Especially because it's unprotected.
Right.
So, I'm not.
I'm by myself. Hi guys. What's going on? So Kevin, I don't know what Matthew Potter's favorite color is, and I don't care. Let's see. David asked Dom if he believes the Panthers bounce back next year. I think it depends on injuries, especially if they get Barkov back. I think that definitely helps them. Hi, you're back.
I'm back. Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know what the heck just happened there. What where was I? Did I pull up David's question?
I don't know.
David's question on if the Bruins go on a win stretch to get home ice advantage, should other teams be worried?
I mean, I think any team playing the Bruins in a 7-game series should not count them out. Whether they have home ice or not. Playing against that physical team in a 7-game series, they're going to wear you down.
Absolutely.
Whether
and I
it's
think
home or away.
And I think what they just proved playing Buffalo and getting the win in Buffalo is anybody in the Eastern Conference should be worried about playing the Bruins to some degree.
Yeah.
They have the Vezina caliber goaltender. They have the Hart candidate in Pastrnak. They have the Norris caliber type defender in McAvoy. They have everything they need to make a good push.
His best season, and he's missed a chunk of it.
But yeah, along with half his mouth.
He's playing his best hockey.
Absolutely.
I mean, there were times where I was like ripping my hair out against McAvoy, but he's playing some of his best hockey. Like at the beginning of the season, I was like, oh, Pasternak's the captain. Now I'm like, holy shit, is McAvoy the captain? I mean,
yeah, I don't hate the setup of the two of them.
I mean, he just got on that horse, has not turned back.
Oh, absolutely. Let me put it this way. Buffalo, I'm worried about their ability to outscore you. Tampa, let me know what the roster looks like because, yeah, Vasilevsky can steal the series, but if they don't have Victor Hedman back yet, that's a problem for them. So you can score on Vasilevsky. You've done that before.
Yeah.
Montreal, who's their goaltender? Because right now they are doing everything they can to give that job to Jakub Dobeš, and he can't hold it for his life.
Right.
I do think Fowler is the guy for them. It's just they're doing everything they can not to put the pressure on the kid. And I get it, but it's not working. Right. Carolina, God, have you seen Brandon Bussey lately? That kid is hitting the wall.
Yes, he is.
He's about to play more games. By the end of the regular season, he'll have played more games than he's ever played in Providence with the playoffs. Yep. He is getting so tired right now. And by the way, Frederik Andersen looks like dog shit.
Well,
yeah, I know. Columbus, Jet Greaves is probably the scariest goaltender in your conference right now, other than Jeremy Swayman. So Columbus gives me a little bit of pause. Pittsburgh only gives me pause because if you get Malkin, Crosby, Letang, and Carlson in the playoffs, who the hell knows what they can do at this point? Right. They're going to be going all in, and Crosby going all in has a little bit of a worry for me. And then Ottawa, you have not fared well against Ottawa all season, and Allmark's got his game back.
Right. Oh, Allmark looks phenomenal.
Oh, yeah. So I do worry about that. But
Yeah,
I do think you've
we've
learned
also
enough from
talked about
playing
the
them.
regular season, but we've also talked about regular season stats mean shit in the playoffs.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. You've learned enough from playing them in the regular season that it might not mean anything when it comes to the playoffs. So yeah, absolutely. Especially if you're able to get home ice advantage for any series, other teams should be worried. Getting to the cup final, that already makes it a successful season. We'll have that conversation if and when that happens. Will the Panthers bounce back next season? Another question from David. I don't see how they don't.
I answered that question while you were
Oh,
gone.
did you? Did you? I didn't hear your answer. So what was it? Just a
I
brief
basically
synopsis.
said it depends on if they're healthy or not. Because one of the biggest things that they've been missing all year is Barkov. And if they get Barkov back, it automatically makes them a better team.
And they started the season. Yeah, they've been without Barkov or Kachuk pretty much all season.
Right. So, and you know what I mean? And not have, I mean, you talk about like, that's like the Bruins not having Patrice Bergeron for, you know what I mean? For when they were contending.
And then Schwind was on LTIR. Marchand's now on LTIR. Gadjevich is on LTIR. They lost Nico Mikkola to LTIR.
They've just had injuries all season long. I mean,
yeah,
that's the only reason why Florida is where they are right now is because of injuries.
Yeah, as far as having a bounce back season for them, I don't see how they don't have one.
Right.
That's the only way that I can put it.
Did
you see Kevin? What do you think Matthew Podra's favorite color is?
Oh, that's why I said you didn't hear me say, Kevin, I fucking hate you.
Oh, that's the one? Okay.
Yeah. And I answered that question while you were gone too. I don't know, and nor do I care.
Did you see, Dom, my return question on that is what would that mean for Matthew Poitras and Corpy, seeing how if Swayman gets injured, we still need him? And those ones weren't at me. Those slaps weren't at me. Ian says, I only hope the Leafs win puts them out of the top 5. It would make me so happy. I would love to see the Bruins get another 7th overall draft pick and this time have it be the Leafs. That would just be awesome. I'll take 6. I'm not going to complain about 6 or 8, but just in the top 10 would be nice.
Yeah.
Let's see. Does Sweeney or some other GM make the pick?
Sweeney's not going anywhere. Sweeney proved that he is a capable GM. It's his job to leave.
Yeah,
Neely and Jeremy Jacobs would be stupid not to bring Sweeney back.
He's still under contract too. Let's not forget that. He has at least 1, maybe 2 more years. I don't remember exactly when the extension kicked in.
I forget what he signed, but I forget how long he signed.
If he gets this year's team to the playoffs, has another good draft where he brings in more talent, another decent offseason, because last offseason was a good offseason. You can't say it wasn't. If he does that type of thing again, and next year they make the playoffs,
Cam Neely wanted the team to have piss and vinegar. Don Sweeney went and got him piss and vinegar.
You know what else he did, though? He got him people who can score.
Correct.
So he's able to put everything
Not
together.
In my house, Kevin. Not in my house.
Kevin, my girlfriend's feeding the dog, okay? Shut up. It's just he has put himself in a position to, I mean, he's a GM for Team Canada for a reason.
Yeah.
He is one of the most highly respected general managers in the league. Period. End of story. I don't give a flying fuck what you have to say about the 2015 draft 12 years later. Don Sweeney is one of the most respected general managers in the league. Period. End of story.
Put that in the universe.
Other people have been. So the point being, he's not going anywhere. Until this team misses the playoffs, I think for 2 consecutive seasons, he's not going anywhere. That's the bar that he has right now. Dom says, Dave Pagnotta, Bruins trade deadline. They talked to Philly about Rasmus Ristolainen. They also mentioned Bobby Brink before he was traded to Minnesota. Yeah, I mean, I think they could revisit a Ristolainen deal in the offseason. That's possible. Canes could use a guy like Korpisalo in case Bussy gets hurt. Does Don Sweeney make the pick and extend Sweeney, or we just covered that. Stickler Demon says, will the Bruins make the playoffs?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't see why they don't. I mean, they have a gauntlet of a schedule. It's going to be tough, but they've got a good tiebreaker, number 2. Would you promote Sweeney to president? Well, Cam
No,
Neely ain't giving that seat up anytime soon anyway.
no.
The only reason why I could see something like that happen is, one, Cam Neely has an offer for something else that he is ready to move on for. And 2, you sit there and go, we're going to promote Evan Gold. Like, everyone gets moved up because Cam Neely is moving out. That's the only scenario in which I see that. Let's see. My brother is a huge fan. They haven't won since 2012. It was the 2011 season, but sure.
He said that.
Oh, did he? Oh, my bad. Okay, I'm seeing it. Big Sweeney supporter. Yeah, I mean, you and I have been supportive of Sweeney for a while.
I've been a big supporter of Sweeney since day one.
I don't know if Ian is trying to ask about Matthew Poitras, but what I would say to that, Ian, is just go back and look at the last hour and a half.
We're not talking about Matthew Poitras.
We're moving on from Poitras.
Done.
Kevin says, if it wasn't for the 2015 draft, we would never have got Korpisalo. Everything happens for a reason.
Silver lining.
Sorry, Dom. Was your nephew or was your grandson watching? I didn't mean to. I think I made my point, though. We certainly have to check off the explicit rating for that one. Sorry about that, Dom.
Yeah, I think I've dropped a few F-bombs, especially at Kevin.
Well, can you blame me? It's the 2015 draft. Again, something else that people need to touch grass over.
Don't. I'm not having it.
Actually, do you think Poitras likes vinegar? But real quick, do you remember when Don Sweeney made that trade for Korpisalo and Dean Letourneau and Mark Kastelik, and people crucified the hell out of him?
Yeah.
I think he won that trade.
Can we go back? So let's go to David's thoughts on number 6.
Thoughts on Mason Lohrei. Yes, that was where I was going to go next. I'll let you start with this one.
I mean, horrible play last night.
Which one? The turnover, the penalty?
The turnover that led to the goal, which then in turn turned into the penalty because he took a stupid cross check.
It was a brutal 30 seconds for Mason Lohrei. Probably the worst 33 seconds of his entire career so far.
Yeah. I think he has been better of late, but he has some big mistakes.
I think some of his mistakes stand out a little bit more simply because he...
Oh my God. Ian, you better be kidding.
Ian's getting slapped now.
You better be kidding, Ian.
I
tell me
think
you're
so.
Kidding. Please tell me you're kidding.
Just say it, Ian, so that she doesn't have a conniption. I think his mistakes get amplified because 9 times out of 10, they are aggressive mistakes that lead to an odd man rush or to a breakaway.
Well, and that's why those mistakes are amplified, because it's such a mistake. Like 9 times out of 10, if Pastrnak turns the puck over, they're not scoring on the other end of the ice.
There's also 4 guys behind him too.
Right.
Yes, Elliot Gronwald. We'll have to talk about him more going forward. Thanks, Dom. And again, sorry for the language if your grandson was watching with you. And hopefully everyone in the family is doing well. You and I have to chat again soon. So take care, Dom. And we're wishing everyone well. So has there ever been a Bruins D-man that has hurt the Bruins more than number 6? Yes. And Ian says that he was kidding.
Okay, thank you.
So
I want my devil horns again. Where's my devil horns?
I don't know. That one was weird when that one happened, but funny. The thing with Mason Lohrei is because he's on defense, his mistakes get amplified. Now, how many times? I mean, especially since he's been moved to the right side, how many great defensive plays has he actually made? He's made quite a few.
Oh yeah, his mistake, like I said, his mistakes are few and far between, but they're so egregious that's what makes, because when he does, he's gotten so much stronger since being paired again with Hampus Lindholm again.
Yeah.
He's been playing so much better. He's been playing with so much more confidence. So that when he does make those mistakes, they're so egregious that they get amplified even more because of what's happening on the other end of the ice.
Yeah, and I think some of it too is he makes them more frequently than, say, Hampus Lindholm. One, there's a youth factor still, and two, he's more aggressive offensively.
And three, Hampus Lindholm is just a better defenseman.
Yeah, that too.
But I mean, come on. He's your if you're looking at your defenseman all around play, it's Charlie McAvoy, Hampus Lindholm, Nikita Zadorov. Those are your three defensemen. Those are your top three defensemen. And then you've plugged in the other holes.
Who of those six, or we can go of your 8 defensemen, really, because there's still more, or 9, however far deep you want to go. I would consider Mason Lohrei your most offensively aggressive defenseman. And so he's going to make more mistakes trying to create offense.
True.
However, he has also proven, since moving to the right side, that he is able to get his stick in lanes better, break up passes, break up 2-on-1s. He's much more reliable defensively now than he was 3 months ago when he was still on the left side. Right. So, yeah, he's still improving significantly. And to Kevin's point, he was drafted 2 years before Matthew Poitras and 8 years after Korpisalo. I don't know why, other than the names, he's throwing that in there. But he's still young.
Throw Poitras in.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But he's still young. His ceiling is still being worked on. So if the fact that he's shown the growth defensively that he has tells me that he is still worth the time and effort and energy to continue to work on. David says his pairings have bailed him out.
Yes and no. Yes and no.
Because he's also bailed his teammates out too.
Well, the thing is when he got dropped down to the third pairing and he was playing with like Peak on the third pairing, that's where he was starting to gain his confidence back because he became the top defenseman on that pair, right?
That was Kevin. I think Kevin's getting slaps tonight.
But so he was starting to get his confidence back, which is why Marco Sturm rewarded him and put him back with Hampus Lindholm. And he's been playing better with Hampus Lindholm. And
so much better.
And Hampus Lindholm is not offensive minded, but Mason Lohrei has a little bit more speed than Hampus Lindholm. So he can drive it a little bit more. And yes, he is a little bit more aggressive offensively. But when you had Hampus Lindholm with Brandon Carlo, Hampus Lindholm was your offensive-minded defenseman, and Brandon Carlo was your stay-at-home.
Yeah.
The roles have kind of reversed with Mason Lohrei and Hampus Lindholm. Part of it has to do learn how to spell my name.
Maybe that's part of the troll job.
Yeah, I mean, because you spelled it right 2 sentences before that.
It's also showing
it's on your screen.
It's right there. Come on.
But so when he plays aggressive, he plays with confidence and he plays his best hockey. He's got to make mistakes when
Kevin spells it wrong again. But yes, at this point, he's doing it just to get slapped. So, do we think he'll be a liability during the playoffs? Is
No,
Dave's next kind of follow up question.
I don't think
Um,
I don't think he'll be a liability at all.
I think the best way to put it is no more than he is right now.
Right.
I think
He's
part
not
of
costing you games.
he almost did last night, but
But
overall
did
his
he?
game was not.
But
But
did he?
also, and overall, there have been games where he saved your ass because I do think that Hampus has lost a little bit of a step this year. I obviously he's coming back from a pretty big knee injury from last year. I think people have lost sight of what Hampus is actually trying to do on his knee this year, and he'll probably round back into a much better form next season, a year fully removed from that surgery and the freaking broken kneecap. So I do think there's a little bit of a lag in Hampus's game, and we've seen that in some of his penalties. Would
Yeah.
you agree?
Yes, for sure.
So I
For
think
sure.
some of Lorai's mistakes are also amplified because Hampus has taken some of those additional penalties because he is lagging a little bit in his game. If those two can remain a pair for next season, Hampus is able to get back to where he was even a year ago before the injury, then that could be one of the top defensive pairings in the entire league because they both think the game equally well offensively. And I think that helps them play off of each other in a much better way because Lorai knows how Hampus is going to pinch up and when, and he can read that. And that's allowed him to get back and make some of those great defensive plays to break up 2-on-1s or breakaways and stuff like that that we've seen him do. And it also allows Hampus to do that the other in inverse. The problem is Hampus is lagging in his game, so he's taking penalties.
Right.
So let's see. If Harris made the mistakes that Lorai does, would you keep Harris, or would you keep Harris in the lineup? They got to get Harris back in the lineup first. The fact that he hasn't been in the lineup is, I think, telling enough as to how they feel about him overall right now. And I'm trying to remember if he has a contract for next season too, or if that was just a 1 year. Harris is a restricted free agent pending. So I wonder if they even look to bring him back. Kevin adds, Lorai has improved this year. I think next year a lot of this stuff will be worked out. Defensemen can be finicky when it comes to development unless you are Cale Makar or Matthew Schaefer. Yeah, I mean, I think the improvement is enough to keep him around. I don't think he's going to get moved in the offseason. I think they're going to look at him as a right side defenseman for next year. This is why you gave him the contract, Mason Lorai.
Yeah. No, I think if anything, I think that they let Peak walk as a UFA, let him, test his market. And if it wouldn't hurt to bring Harris back in place of Peak.
Yeah, Harris, I think, is a solid seventh defenseman, although that you could look at Jonathan Aspro. I do wonder what the trade market's going to look like. How much rope do you give Mason Lorai? Right now, I'm giving him a lot. There's he's back up to 20 minutes a night. He's not your weakest link right now. Does he make mistakes? Sure. So does everybody else, though. But this is exactly why you gave him the 2-year contract, because you can see his growth from this year and see how he interprets it for his game for next season, incorporates everything. So I'm just taking a look at the time here, realizing it's almost 8, or it is 8:30. There is, I mean, we got a couple. You said next week I got to figure something out because you got something going on. If we're looking at Wednesday, or was next week one of the days that you could do?
No, not next week.
Okay.
Next week is April 1st.
So hopefully between now and next week we have.
It's the 15th is I'll be at a Fleet game.
The Fleet, by the way, we got to. Do you have 5 minutes so we can talk about the Fleet? Give them a little bit of due.
Of course.
I know you were at the game last night.
Yeah.
We were both at the game on Saturday.
Yeah.
Hell of a game.
Yeah.
Anybody who hasn't gone, whether it's in Boston, Kevin's volunteering Dom for next week. Kevin,
I'm
maybe
available next week. What are you talking
I was gonna say
about?
Kevin needs to fill in for you in 2 weeks when you can't do it.
The
I'm calling
15th.
Kevin out. Or the 15th, whatever it is. Kevin, you're up on the 15th. It's your turn.
The 15th and the 29th, I'm not available. 29th,
Yeah, Kevin,
I'll be in Bermuda. And the 15th, I'll be at the Fleet.
Kevin's been voluntold for those dates. So
Okay.
there we go. It'll be Kevin. But no, the Fleet games, great experience. If you haven't had a chance to go, it's totally worth going. Great hockey overall. Obviously, the team itself is fantastic and fun to watch. And whether it's in Boston, go ahead.
Tuesday night, Aaron Frankel had a 35 save shutout.
Oh my god, she's so much fun to watch. I think I've figured out what separates her, because I watched her intently on Saturday when I was there. You ever notice how sometimes Kevin, I thought you said you were gonna stop. You ever notice
that
how
wasn't Kevin? That's Ian.
Oh, that's Ian. Oh my god, sorry, Kevin. I almost smacked the wrong person. Ian, come on. You know how sometimes when you watch a goaltender in a game where the puck isn't near them frequently, they kind of just sort of are there.
Yeah.
And you can look at them and go, yeah, they're thinking about what they're doing after the game. And then the game comes their way, so they kind of do that, oh shit, I got to pay attention now.
Uh-huh.
That never happens with her.
Uh-huh.
If you ever notice, I watched her intently during the second period on Saturday, and there was never a time, and if you recall, the puck was in the O-zone a lot in that second period.
Yeah.
There was never a time where she wasn't following the play, and almost like, you know how we watch Swayman in warmups and kind of go, the dude's psycho because he's kind of like flinching and you know, doing all the. She was constantly doing that, basically following the play. Like with that shot, this is, you know what I mean? So she never had that lull of losing focus.
Nope.
And I don't think I've ever seen a goaltender with that kind of focus. And there's nothing harder as a goaltender than remaining focused in a game where you have long times between shots. And she has found the way to do that. Uh-oh. Frankel just lost her stick.
She did. That's okay.
Anyway, couple bobbleheads there. So I definitely wouldn't be surprised if that's one of those factors for her. She's also just always in position. She never gets rattled. No. You know, she
gave up 2 goals in the entire Olympics.
On the biggest stage, I know. Nothing rattles that woman. Even if the save doesn't go, her rebound control is phenomenal, by the way. Like, absolutely phenomenal. She tracks the play simultaneously to tracking the puck, if that makes any sense whatsoever.
Yep.
So, as much as tracking the play puts her in position, she tracks the puck and is always able to make adjustments, even if it's deflected.
Yep.
And nothing rattles her.
Nope.
So, yeah. Probably on a bus somewhere when he should be on a jet. The mistreatment of Patra has to end, and it's led by Gayle. But he spelled your name right this time. Do you think Patra could make the Fleet team? I bet she doesn't have Corpusalo in case she gets hurt.
No, she has Abby Levy.
Oh my god, yeah, she's been good too.
She's got Abby Levy, who's only played 2 games this year, by the way.
I mean, when you have Aaron Frankel, can you really fault him?
Well, that's the thing. Like, I asked Chris Spar at the game on Saturday if he considered giving Frankel, you know, like how much pressure he's put on Frankel. He's like, you have the best goaltender in the world. It's not a, you know. And I talked to Frankel about it after Tuesday night's game, asking her if there was almost too much pressure and how she stays so focused, given especially the amount of pucks she is seeing, you know. And the girl is she's just unbelievable.
And physically, fatigue is there's enough time between games that you really don't have to sit there and go.
Right.
So
they played
she's gonna need a
Saturday.
day. Yeah, she's gonna need a day off mentally before she needs one physically.
Right. So they played Saturday, then they played Tuesday. They play tomorrow night in Toronto. And then I think they play Minnesota after that. Then they're off for 10 days.
Yeah, you can play her the next 2 and they give her 10 days off.
Right. And then their next home game is April 11th at the Garden.
Oh, that's going to be a good one.
And that's sold out. That is sold out. And that's against Montreal.
Do I dare say it's going to be a shutout for Frankel?
I don't know. I mean, she got 2 straight shutouts.
Yeah.
She had a shutout on Saturday, too.
Well,
she has 6 this season, most of any goalie in the. She set a regular season record with her 5th, and now she had her 6th on Tuesday.
Yeah, she realistically could end up with 10 before the season is over. She's
is playing
on that level.
She is playing lights out.
Well, the good news is we're gonna have a lot more Fleet content coming.
Yes.
Oh yeah. What's that?
I said, oh yes.
We do have some announcements coming as well. We've had a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that we have been waiting to share. Do you want to reveal any of it now?
Sure.
I will concede the floor to you.
So Chris and I have obviously that we have partnered in What's Bruin, but we have also partnered in Trosek, which is a play on our names, if you haven't figured that out yet. And we are creating Extra Level Sports, which should be launching hopefully soon. The website is almost 100% done. We just have a little finesse to do. And then we're going to be up and running, which means a lot more content in one place.
Yeah. This way here, you don't have to follow a zillion different things and what we're looking. I do like that idea. We should get a Gayle signed Patra jersey. Thanks, Ian. Oh, man. That's good. But yeah, we're
at least it's not a player that I hate.
I know. At least you haven't been deemed a Lysell hater. All right, that's me. Yes, Kevin, you can write an article on Patra. I will let him do that. But it also means in order to write the article, you have to come on for one of the shows that Gayle can't make. Yeah, like I said, it means we're going to have a lot more when it comes to the fleet, a lot more when it comes to just content in general. But yeah, and if people are interested, what's that?
One-stop shopping.
One-stop shopping, and if people want to jump on, see what they can do to contribute, anybody can reach out. We're looking for people who want to get involved. So
whether it be opinion pieces, whether it be a podcast, we're open to all suggestions, and we may start like a mailbag and lots of different stuff. So it's still in the works, but we're hopefully going to launch everything really, really soon. Definitely before the playoffs.
Yeah, I think the playoffs will be the probably the biggest launching point for us at that point. Yeah. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. We hope everyone stays along for the ride, and yeah, we've got a few things to continue to work on back here, but we will continue to try to help Dom get his old Twitter back as well. I know he's gone, but that's why the broadcast will continue to go to that channel as well. I know that's something he is still fighting for. Kevin says, I'm going to do a food podcast with Dom where we talk about Bruins players' favorite foods.
I would love that. So
if he
if
would
that's
actually
a joke,
do it,
you suck.
well, here's the other thing, Kevin. That means you actually have to be on a show and do the show. And it's definitely a show we could do better than a certain broadcast network on TV that has got a lot of problems right now. A former employer of yours.
Yeah, we're not gonna discuss it.
So with that, do you have any final thoughts on the Fleet, the Bruins, the Providence Bruins, James Hagens, Matthew Patra, anything? Yeah, that one I threw in there for Kevin. Sorry.
I just want to thank everyone for their support. I really
David, is beer considered a food group? You know what? Because it's hockey? Yes.
and we barley.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I do want to get, while we still have the chat here, if people could just put a yes or no, a segment that you and I were talking about implementing. How do you guys feel about us implementing a slap of the week? We never talked about the games. We talked about them a little bit.
Kevin, I brought that up.
We talked about them a little bit, though, because we talked about Mason Lorai's turnover in the game last night. We talked about the loss in Korpisalo, the way he played in Toronto. I mean,
We
do you
just
want us
didn't
to-
really talk about Toronto at all. Other than the fact that they looked past Toronto to Buffalo.
Yeah, and so did we.
Yeah.
I
Anyways.
think the one that we didn't talk about was Detroit. That's the one we overlooked.
Yeah.
So we have one vote for a slap of the week. This week, Kevin, it goes to you. How worried are you about this weekend? This gauntlet of Minnesota, Columbus, and Dallas?
I'm not. So I want to put this is what I'll close with, and then I'm done. If you don't listen to Sirius XM, which is so much better than local sports radio.
Don't ever listen to local sports radio.
I listen to NHL Network on Sirius XM all the time. And Andrew Raycroft was on with Steve Coolius the other day. He's on there a lot, actually, on the power play, like the 4 to 6 shift or whatever.
Yeah.
But as fans, a lot of people say this is a must win. This is a must win. And Andrew Raycroft said to the players, every single game, whether it's opening night, October 25th, right before Christmas, or the playoffs, every single game is a must win. You're feeling just as bad about an October 25th loss as you are about an April 12th loss. It doesn't matter. So players go out to win no matter what. And so people need to get out of their heads that games are must wins, because players are automatically thinking it's a must win.
Players don't play to lose. Like,
Right.
Do you think anybody on last year's team was happy about how that team went?
Oh, God,
No, absolutely not. I think the happiest person might have been, I don't know. Oh crap! Why am I blanking on his name? He's the one with Toronto right now. Not John Farinacci. Who was the other one who was playing wing? It wasn't. He was one of the call-ups from Providence last year, who was playing second line right wing, and he didn't even get a return. Like you know who I'm talking about, and I can't think of the name. I want to say he's with Toronto right now. Kevin probably will know. He'll throw Matthew Potter in the chat to be a wise ass, but Vinny Lettieri. Sorry. Vinny Lettieri it's the Bruins every game is a must win. Oh,
Kevin, are you being serious? Like, is that really a serious question?
What if Raycroft got hurt back in the day? Anyway. No, the happiest person last year was probably Vinny Lettieri, because it was the most NHL experience he's had in his career. Like, but even then, he wasn't hoping to lose games. He's just glad he's playing. Right. So players play to win the game. Last year, Don Sweeney did enough to make it so they just weren't good enough to win, which Toronto didn't do this year. So we're going to end up with that pick and probably a playoff run. That's a win-win.
Yeah.
But yeah, as the season goes on, my last thing is, if you feel
I will answer David's questions though. He said thought on Sturm's coaching debut overall.
Yeah, I almost overlooked that one. Good question. I'll let you take that one real quick, and then I'll give my final thought.
I think Sturm has done a hell of a job. He's changing the lines when he should and not over panicking and changing the lines when he shouldn't. I think he's made the right decisions in goaltending, and I think he's grown as a coach throughout the season in a good way. Not that he was a bad coach to start, but he definitely has shown improvement from game to game. Like Chris, you brought up the timeouts. You know,
he's using
earlier in the season, he was nervous to take timeouts, and now he's like, okay, I can take a timeout type of thing.
What I think the best way to put it when it comes to the timeouts is he's figured out, or he's starting to learn how to integrate his timeout better with the TV timeouts.
Yes.
I think that was something that he learned. And as far as his coaching, Sturm always looks like he's smelling something bad right beneath his nose. That's fine. He can look however he wants. He's coaching great.
Something that Sturm has that Montgomery didn't have, that Bruce Cassidy didn't have, is Sturm played in Boston.
Yeah.
He understands the pressure of being in an Original Six franchise as a player and now as a coach. And he knows the expectations better than anyone else does.
Let me put it this way. If it weren't for Quenneville leading the Anaheim Ducks to the Pacific Division title, because they're going to win that, if it weren't for Lindy Ruff turning the Buffalo Sabres around, having the same roster that he had 6 weeks earlier that sucked, turning them around, if it weren't for Rick Bowness coming in and being almost undefeated for Columbus, if it weren't for, let's see, who else can we include on the list? You could make a case for Travis Green in Ottawa because he has put them in a playoff position despite the horrible goaltending they got all beginning of the season. Dan Muse in Pittsburgh, John Cooper in Florida. Like, with the exception of those guys, Marco Sturm would be probably the lead for Coach of the Year. And I know that's a lot of names, but this has been a hell of a season for coaching across the NHL. So I hate that whole thing. The Bruins Alumni Club should have all the jobs. I like what Sturm is doing for what he's doing. He'd do it regardless of being a Bruins fan or not. Or being a Bruin or not. No, I think the knowledge helps, Kevin. I think it helps a lot. And it's not because he's part of the alumni club. It's because he's just an alumni. I'm not. It helps. I don't know how it can't. Would you be concerned with the Bruins away record when they don't have last change? That's a good question to round things out. This will be the last one we take.
I think they've gotten better at it, which is why they've won a few on the road.
I think the final stretch here where you have like Columbus, Florida, Tampa, Philly, and Carolina all on the road, those are going to be critical games leading into the playoffs to know how much of a concern it actually is. I do think that one of the things that plays advantage, I know we talked about the piss and vinegar lineup, but in the playoffs, you won't have Kostelic, Janot, and Zadorov in the box nearly as often because of the way the game is played in the playoffs. So if those three guys aren't constantly heading to the box the way they have been during the regular season, that changes how you deploy your lines because you're not down a man so frequently. So anyway, with that, my final thought, and we'll get going here. I thought it was going to be a shorter show. It turns out it's going to be a longer one. if you feel
All that
yourself starting to
friggin'
get
Matthew
wound
Potter
up,
talk.
I know, sorry. If you feel yourself starting to get wound up, the weather's fantastic. Go outside and touch some grass, because whether it's constant Matthew Potter talk, thinking back to the 2015 draft, if it's Corpusalo talk, or if it's panicking over James Hagens not signing 36 seconds after his season ended, it's great weather. Grass is available. Go touch it. All right? Chill the fuck out. I already dropped it once. I can do it again. Again, sorry, Dom. But they're still in a playoff spot. Nothing is situation critical until that becomes a problem. So with that, have a great night. We will be back next Wednesday because there is no game on Wednesday. And we should be back at our 6:30 normal time. So with that, we will see everyone next week. Hopefully we have the active chat like we did today. It's always fun. And we'll have more updates on everything else that's coming. So take care. Have a great night. And go be.